And I actually I want to speak a little bit about this. You know, when we say we can only live in the now, well, what does that mean? And in a way, we are all forced a little bit more now to live in the now. Yeah. So this meeting is happening now, and again, it can happen in the now again in the future. So in a way, we can only speak for this moment, and then in the next moment, it can be different and happen again. And in a way, this is what this Corona time is showing to all of us. We can make plans. Now, even summer holidays, we can plan our holidays, but we don't know really if that's really going to happen, if we can follow through. Now, for the mind, that might be a bit a disturbing factor, right? I cannot plan, I cannot go to Maldives or to the places I used to go or want to go. But for another part of you, for a deeper sense of self, there might be some sense of knowing that this is the only way to live anyway. Because we can make those plans, but we never really know if that's going to happen then. Now the mind, this thought machine tells us, well, no, you have to plan, and you have to know where you're going and what you're doing in your life. And of course, we all do plans. I mean, this session couldn't have happened if it wasn't set up by Ajija and the Mandali team. But the question could be, and a valid question for all of us could be, how do we go about between the now and our plans in the future? In fact, the future doesn't even exist. You know, the future is, the time is in a way, psychological time is a mind-created thing. Now, this is very difficult to understand for the mind, so you can just see if you can just listen from a deeper sense of self, right? So future and past, they are a mind-created thing in order for us as human beings to be able to organize each other, so that I can say to you, Lisanne, let's meet tomorrow at 11, right? But other than that, it's a creation, because consciousness only always knows the now. So even if we're going to meet tomorrow at 11, Lisanne, this will also happen in the now. So we could say our whole life is a continuum of nows. Now, and now is already the next now, and the next now, and the next now. Now, how could I apply that to my life? Because maybe for many of us, it's clear theoretically, right? Yeah, it's only about the now, the here and now. But what does that mean? And what could also this Corona-induced kind of way of life, what does that mean for us? Like, if I make my summer plans or my plans for the fall, and I don't know if that's going to happen. And first of all, maybe to just understand that there is a lot of freedom in that. And that somehow Corona, or the flip side of Corona, how I call it, is really showing us the way how to live more in the present moment. How to slow down, how to just ease a little bit and just say, okay, I can make plans, but I have no idea if this is going to happen. And to relax in that. Because this is how it has been before Corona anyways. We just somehow started to believe that whatever we plan, whatever we construct in this world out there is going to happen as we like it, as we want it. But even before Corona, it has been somehow always not sure if what we construct and we plan is going to happen. So somehow this could be a little bit the present on the silver tablet of Corona, to just invite us, can we really see through that? That we can make plans, but we never know if it's going to happen. And this is a good thing, because it learns us how to live more in the now. Now it can happen, and of course it's also happening to me, that in that time between living here and making a plan, that some sense of ego identity comes in, sneaking in from the side, right? And he's saying like, yeah, but you know, when this doesn't happen, this will really end up really bad, and this is going to destroy you, and blah, 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 right? So what can you do with that one? And when your bigger awareness is aware of this little voice or this ego identity, and you can be aware whenever your being somehow contracts, or whenever there is a sense of, I know how it should be, or I'm sure this is the way how it should end up, or when there is a sense of righteousness, I want to be right, I want to know. So whenever you kind of are aware of this little, almost like this little, this mischievous being, right, that's coming into your head and just saying, whenever you're aware of this, you can just, with your relaxed being in the now, just invite it to come back home, right? To come back home here in your heart and in your being. And this is in a way the most important process on a spiritual path. To not think that those thoughts and those planning ideas will just leave you alone once you're totally established in yourself, right? It might come less with time, but they might still come, these kind of seducing voices that, no, you have to be on top of your life, right? So whenever you are aware of that, just softly bring that voice home to your heart, and then you just stay there and you just say, hey, we don't know, it's not true. Somehow life can live life through me without me. and what that means is life is able to live through this body-mind organism without too much mind activity, without too much righteousness, ego force. It is just fine. Our life will not fall apart if ego is not there on top of it, in control of it. So sense of ego can be here for the planning, can make plans, but then the bigger self just says, okay, we can make easy plans, but then we just stay soft and we just see what happens. Yeah. And in that, meditation can be a big help, because meditation is not just to calm down, but to have another reference point in us, to have a deep sense of self, which is based on now and based on relaxation, a relaxed being. And then from there, we can bring those other voices home, those voices that tell us different. Because we're living not yet in a society where this relaxed sense of self is educated in our upbringing and in our schools. It might be, and hopefully it will be, in the next generations, that somehow we can create some ego, let's say some ego force or some sense of personality, but at the same time that we are also educated to keep that sense of self that we all had when we were born. So that we can go through life in a way as free beings, as relaxed beings, and not as a thought machine or a doing machine. So in that way, maybe as we go along, and since this is our last gathering like that, maybe you can remind yourself a little bit when these thought patterns become more strong, when the thought process tells you you have to stick to your plans and you have to follow through, that when this gets really strong, to just bring that voice home to your heart and home to your true self.